Coming up on the Lifestyle.org podcast.
Children who have adverse childhood experiences are much more likely, statistically much more likely, to have terrible midlife depression because there's only one place that pain is decoded, and that's in the brain. And so you're really not feeling it where it occurred. You're only feeling it in the decoding parts of the brain. Well, when you have mental pain and you keep having mental pain, you keep the wound open.
I'm here with Dr. Arlene Taylor, brain specialist, and I want to talk to you about pain and the brain. Talk to me about how is it that the brain is affected by both physical pain, emotional, sociological pain, and like even when you think back and remember something that was painful, what's going on in the brain?
I wish we knew exactly, but we think we're seeing some windows of explanation. So here's a question. You get out of bed early in the morning and you're in a hurry to do something and you stub your toe on the metal leg. Where do you feel the pain?
I think I feel the pain in the toe, but you're going to tell me something different, aren't you?
You may feel the pressure in the toe.
Yeah.
But not pain.
Yeah.
Because there's only one place that pain is decoded, and that's in the brain. And so what happens is you stub your toe and you feel the pressure, and then this message goes whizzing up to the brain, and the brain goes, ow, that really hurts.
Yeah.
And so you're really not feeling it where it occurred. You're only feeling it in the decoding parts of the brain. Now, here's what happens. Everything's decoded in the brain, taste, smell, sight, hearing, pain, pressure, So let's say this is the site for pressure, and this is the site for pain, but they overlap just a little. And so what triggers one is going to trigger the other. Chronic pain is really scary because it usually begins with bona fide pain. It can be physical pain or it can be mental, emotional pain because somebody said, I don't want to be associated with you because your skin is a different color from mine, which just, I don't know whether to laugh or cry because if you read scripture, God doesn't see color.
Yeah.
God only sees the mind and the heart, not color.
Yeah.
But if you say something really unkind to somebody because their skin is a different color from yours, may it be albino or really dark, that's painful.
Yeah.
And if in your life you've had several of those episodes, your brain has been continually triggered for rejection pain. And it can be so significant and so severe that you start feeling pain before somebody even said something.
Yeah.
They might have no intention to say anything. They might say, "Where are you from?" Bang. They're gonna put me down because, I'm a different color from them. And so there's remembered, referred pain. And it's real.
Yeah.
Now, when you feel pain and when you feel non-physical pain per se, but it'll affect your decoding centers and it can affect your heart, the tendency is to build a backlog of remembered pain. And even when there is no pain, you jump to the conclusion that there is pain. And that's really, there's a huge study that was done, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, the ACEs.
Yeah.
And how children who have adverse childhood experiences are much more likely, statistically statistically much more likely to have terrible midlife depression, suicidal thoughts, all kinds of things, just from that. And there can be physical pain, you're raped or you're beaten or whatever. Some people think that spanking a child is going to somehow help them. It teaches them that big people can hurt little people and it's okay. It has nothing to do with building character. It has them to do with later, some of them hating their parents and never speaking to them again because the pain is always there.
Yeah.
We just don't realize that mental emotional pain can be equally, if not more, traumatic than physical pain.
So have you found any kind of prescriptive way to address? We understand that the pain is being processed in the brain, whether it's physical or emotional or mental. The pain is processed in the brain. Is there any way for us to alleviate the pain from either physical or emotional or mental? Just understanding where it's being processed.
Well, let me start by saying, if you've had instances of rejection pain, when you feel pain, the body pours out endorphins, the brain's natural morphine, to try to help you feel better. If you have had repeated, say, rejectional pain, the body doesn't seem to pour out the endorphins to make you feel better. It's like it's hopeless. It
just stops.
It
stops
just
releasing.
It releases very little, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Now, when you cut your finger and it bleeds and the brain tells you it hurts and it gets red and inflamed and swollen and it really interferes with your ability to use your hand, the inflammatory process is excellent. That's going to help it heal.
Yeah.
But it's going to take time. And it may take 10 days or 2 weeks before you look there and you can hardly see where the cut was because the body was so effective. Well, when you have mental pain and you keep having mental pain, you keep the wound open.
Yeah.
And the only way I know is through really good counseling to help the person say, now you have a choice. This did happen to you. It was horrible. Your brain has pain. It's been injured. But just like your finger can heal, you can heal if you start talking to yourself differently. And if you start feeling better about yourself, if you've been told you're worthless and you're never going to amount to anything, and you just lie down and let people walk all over you because you're worthless, that's painful.
Yeah.
And you need somebody to help you stand up and know that you're worthwhile.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can do that on your own.
Yeah, I agree. Because I've heard some people prescribed what you have to do is just start repeating these affirmation phrases to yourself, whatever. And I'm just not one of the people that would work for, because when you're in a state of feeling rejection or feeling really lacking in your self-worth, saying that you're an amazing person, saying that you're successful, to me was just, it felt more like a reaffirmation that it wasn't true.
Well, eventually you can say some of those things and believe them.
Yeah.
But it's a process, just like healing your finger.
Yeah.
You start saying, I'm worth something. And your brain goes, are you an idiot?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you need help. I needed help because I grew up never doing anything good enough. Never. My dear mother she was had borderline personality disorder and was narcissistic. And she didn't want a girl. She wanted only one child and a boy. And unfortunately, she forgot to tell me. So I was born a girl, and she had 4 months of, I guess, desperate postpartum depression because my father was a minister and he had women from the church come in and take care of me, and she'd lie in bed and going, I've got to do this again. I want a boy. Well, that certainly made me feel wanted.
Yeah.
And I don't think she ever complimented me my entire life for anything. Probably the only compliment I got from her was about a year before she died, and I was doing Cosery, the radio program up at Pacific Union College.
Yeah.
And she looked at me one day and she said, "Well, Arlene, you do seem to have turned out a lot better than I ever thought you would." Which was really high praise from her.
That's huge.
Huge. But I know that journey because I had to take that journey, because the God I worship does not want you to believe that you are not worthy, because he doesn't create any junk.
Yeah. You know, I work with a lot of people who they question, what's my life purpose? What's my life calling? And that's one of the things I help them with the most. And your story is in alignment with what I've seen with everyone's life calling. I don't think you would be as passionate about helping people understand the mind and the brain, and
if I'd had a wonderful childhood.
you wouldn't.
No.
You wouldn't be as passionate to finding the latest research that you do, just simply because you lived pain and understanding, how can I not merely manage the pain, how do I address the pain?
How do I heal the pain?
Yeah. So for those people who are watching or listening to this, how have you personally been able to, understanding the brain is the place where you've had to process the emotional pain, what are some of the steps that you found that worked really well for you in processing your own?
You know, I think the process is slightly different for everybody.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate. I probably had a pretty unhappy first 40-some years of my life. I mean, you wouldn't know it. I was smiling and I was doing seminars, and now I think back and think, oh my goodness, those poor people. Whatever did I say that helped them?
Yeah.
But there was a woman much older than I was who heard me speak, and she came and talked. She actually came to Napa, where I lived, and my parents lived in St. Helena, and we became good friends. Her name was Alice Smith. She was the first registered nurse that the General Conference had hired. And she said, I really like what you're doing, but you're doing it through pain. And I said, what? She said, are your parents still alive? And I said, yes. She said, I'd like to visit your parents with you. Would you be open to that? And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this woman is just really whacked. But finally I said, okay. So we drove up to St. Helena and we spent 20 minutes with my parents. And we came back home and we didn't talk on the way home. And so I sat down and I said, all right, Alice, what did you want to do that for? And what is it going to do? And she said, all right, here's my assessment. You and your father have always had a very warm, trusting relationship. And I said, yes, because my mother didn't even hold me for 4 months. And so I bonded with my father. But he said, she said, your mother is very jealous of you. And I said, why? She keeps telling people I don't look like her. I look like my father, and he's not a dog, but she was very attractive. She said, she's competing with you. And if you noticed, every time you started to talk to your father, she interrupted. And I said, wow, I'd never noticed that before. She wants to be the center of attention. And I am not putting her down. She had a horrible childhood. She's borderline personality disorder, got narcissism. But then I could suddenly realize where I got that from. I'm not good enough. I cannot please my mother, who is my role model. That was the beginning of my journey.
Yeah. And that's how you were able to put it in perspective?
Oh, then I started to, she told me I wasn't smart enough to be a doctor. You know, I'm 15. We're sitting at the dining room table. my mother says to my brother, who is 4 years younger, what do you want to be when you grow up? You do want to be a doctor, right? And he goes, I will never be a doctor. I hate sick people. So silly little me says, I'd like to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And she said, you're not smart enough to be a doctor.
Which is probably one of the reasons why you became a doctor. Because you are persistent, which is the polite way of saying stubborn.
I guess
and you're like,
so.
I'm going to show you what I can and cannot do.
Well, I had to be really encouraged to do that. And Dr. Terry Roberts was one who said to me, you know you're wasting your brain, Taylor. I said, what? He said, you're a wonderful nurse, but you need to go back to school. And I said, I can't. I'm not smart enough. He had a little come to Jesus talk with me.
Yeah.
Once you get the picture that you are an accumulation of everything that's happened to you, pick out the positive things, the encouraging things, pick out the negative things, consciously tell yourself they were doing the best they could do. And I had to start praying for them. And I learned that from Job. Mm-hmm. Job's illness was not healed until he started praying for his friends. Yeah. So I started praying for my mother. And every time, I'd be asked to speak and I'd go to the women's restroom and I'd throw up. Because what if I don't say the right things? And what if somebody doesn't like what I'm saying? And am I really good enough to be asked to speak? And I realized that was dysfunctional.
Yeah.
So I had a little talk with the Lord and I said, I need to know the reason that I'm throwing up because it's not healthy and I don't want to keep speaking if I'm going to throw up in the women's restroom before I speak. I wouldn't say that I've had many direct answers to prayer that I could quantify, but that night I had a dream. I saw myself on the platform. I saw my outline and everything. And I saw into my head. It was like I could see right into my head. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't thinking about the people that I might be able to help. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about, I'm going to make a mistake. Someone's going to laugh me off the stage. My mother's going to tell me maybe I can do it better sometime in the future. And I woke up and I go, this is not about me.
Yeah.
And that really helped me because if I'm asked to speak, I pray about it, and then it's not about me at all. If I make a mistake, I'll apologize. If I can't remember a word, I'll say to the audience, what word am I looking for? And it's never failed.
Yeah.
But somebody gives me the word. And it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
But this was a process.
Yeah.
And I don't have a formula for people except be sure that you want to do what the Lord wants you to do. Mm-hmm. And He will show you what you're gifted at.
Yeah.
Listen to people who are wise. Acknowledge the problems. Pray for the people that are giving you a bad time. And just keep on keeping on.
Yeah. I think it would be surprising for a lot of people who have ever been to your seminars or heard you speak before, because you are one of the most funny, entertaining, and informative speakers that I know. It's just an amazing presentation that you put on. And I encourage any of you who are anywhere where Arlene is going to be presenting, you've got to go because you are amazing.
You're very kind.
I think, but I'm also being very truthful. I mean, you really are gifted at presenting, and I've always enjoyed the presentations. But I think the beautiful thing that you've brought out, especially in understanding pain, is that, and I share with people that I'm coaching, pain doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. And to help people reframe the fact that the reason why you're so passionate about helping people in a certain area of life that you're passionate about, it always comes back to the places of your greatest pain. Yeah. And helping people to process that pain, deal with the pain, overcome the pain, redirect the pain, and to use the pain as fuel. Pain happens for you, not to you. And I see that's what you've been able to do. And it's what's fueled decades of amazing research and presentations that you give.
Now I'm going to have to make sure that I'm not upset about this, because I have never talked about this in public before.
Yeah. I'm really glad you did, because I think people need to hear. They see us happy and helping other people, and they don't understand the reason why we are happy and helping other people is because we've gone through the pain and we've been able to see the other side.
And it's interesting because subconsciously we recognize each other, don't we?
Big time.
And
Yeah.
I can't explain that to people, but I can tell them that every single time somebody comes to me and is getting ready to ask a question, all of a sudden I'm often pretty sure what question they're going to ask me.
Yeah.
And I can answer because I've been there.
Yeah. And oftentimes people initially think, when we kind of cut them short, because most people want to tell the entire story.
I know.
We don't need the entire story, because we can sense immediately, because we've gone through a lot individually, we can sense immediately, and we say, can I help you save some time here? Is how I cut people off. Can I help you save some time here? And I just say, you're going through this is what you're feeling, this is what you're thinking, this is how you're responding. And they're like, yeah, how'd you know? Because they didn't tell me the whole story. You can tell.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
it's electromagnetic energy, I think.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the first time this happened to me. It was a little scary.
Mm-hmm.
I was back east and I was doing a really big Christian women's retreat, and I was responsible for like 4 presentations.
Yeah.
And after the first presentation, a lady came up to me and she had 2 little girls with her, maybe 5 and 7. And she said, all of a sudden, I don't want my girls to hug me. I don't want them on my lap, and I don't know what's going on. And so I'd like some time this afternoon with you to tell me why all of a sudden I'm rejecting touching them. Mm-hmm. And I heard myself say, how old were you when you were molested?
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, I've never told a soul that. How did you ask that question?
Yeah.
I said, all I'm asking you is how old you were. She said, I was 7. Her daughter had just turned 7.
Mm-hmm.
And her brain did not want to have anything happen to her daughter that had happened to her. And to her, that meant she couldn't touch them. Yeah. And those are scary episodes, Roy.
Yeah. Her operating system was kicking in and she was not conscious.
That's right.
Of it. In her conscious mind, she's questioning why her actions are the way, because she doesn't realize there's a whole nother program going on underneath.
The subconscious is working like crazy.
Yeah.
Because she never dealt with it.
Yeah.
Never healed from it. And all I can tell people is the pain in your brain is not in your body, but it's like damage to your finger that you can watch heal, and you've got to heal. You can stuff it.
Yeah.
But if you stuff it, you'll never get over it.
Yeah. I think I find myself when I get to those places with people that I'm helping, clients that I'm coaching, I always refer to professional counseling, because that is the field that can help the people specifically, deal with what's happening on these under layers of their mind. Yeah.
It's really sad because there are excellent counselors and there are pseudo counselors.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes hard to find an excellent counselor.
Yeah.
But there's also a stigma.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more so for males than it is for females.
Yeah.
And there's a stigma that I should be fine. I should be able to do this, No, nobody's an island.
Mm-hmm.
You need help.
Yeah.
Everybody needs help for something, whether it's for a broken leg or a history of being molested or being beaten or neglected or disowned.
Yeah. I've interviewed NFL football players recently who have gone through the story of just how difficult it was for them to go to counseling. But now they're like shouting from the mountaintop, please, please, please go to counseling. It was the best thing that ever happened for them to heal the pain of the past.
My metaphor is when you look into the mirror, you really don't see yourself.
Yeah.
You just see a backwards replica of what you think you look like. And then you see yourself in a photograph and you hardly even recognize yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't do it alone. You can't, because you will just see the past. You won't see the future.